Welcome back to Build Your Empire Through Real Estate. I am your host, Alexis Alikas, and I have a special guest today out of San Antonio, Texas, Grant Lopez. Welcome.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I'm super excited for our listeners today because you have built quite the brokerage over there in San Antonio with an agent count of 922. Congratulations.
Thank you. I wish I could take all the success for that. I was handed an already large agent count, and really coming in, my goal was just to keep up with that, grow it, and grow it in the right direction. But we've been here for a long time, and so a lot of that growth was already in place. And then my job's to carry on that legacy and improve on top of it.
I love that. I love it. And you've been president there since November of 2023.
Yeah, coming up on 2 years. It is a blur. I can't believe we're already almost in October of this year. Had me looking back at my GPS and making sure we're on target for the goals, being that we're going into Q4. But it's a blast. I love it. And I tell everybody that asks, I'm having the most fun in real estate I've had in 16 years of doing this.
So awesome. Well, we are going to get to know you on a much deeper level today, and our listeners are as well. Before we jump right in, I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick, short bio introduction to Grant. Grant Lopez is a San Antonio native and a nationally recognized leader in real estate. So before becoming president of KW Heritage, San Antonio's largest brokerage, Grant was ranked among the top 3 individual agents in San Antonio by the Business Journal, named a 30 under 30 honoree by NAR, and served as president of the SABOR, of SABOR, with leadership roles also at the state and national levels. He was recently named a 40 under 40 honoree by SABJ. And today, Grant leads with a passion for building culture, developing agents, and steering organizations through growth and transition. Grant, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to tell me SABJ.
San Antonio Business Journal.
That's what I assumed. Awesome. But some of our listeners, I'm sure, did not know. So that is so cool. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. And then SABOR is our local association here. And so San Antonio Board of Realtors is about, I'd say close to 15,000 members strong, and staying pretty steady at that number.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first question that comes to mind for me, which is just because I am so curious, Grant, for those mega agents listening right now, thinking about growing a team, the agents that are listening, as well as those leaders within the brokerage side of things who are responsible for running large brokerages like yourself, tell me, I'm just curious, what does your day-to-day look like with 922 agents?
It is organized and controlled chaos is what we like to call it. It's a lot of calendar blocks with a lot of flexibility, and trying to constantly just stay in communication with our staff team as well as our agent team on that flexibility and grace. But, I would say our team here is really incredible about keeping not only myself on track, but they are always one step ahead, where if they know I'm in a meeting that's running late, they're contacting the next meeting automatically. But believe it or not, it's pretty darn balanced, because I think we have a well-running machine internally that keeps everybody in terms of our staff in the appropriate lane so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. And that solves a lot of the problems right there.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Tell me, what is your staff? When you say staff, your leadership team, what does that look like? How are you servicing 922 agents, almost 1,000 agents at a high level?
It's a lot. And at one point we were higher than that number, which I'm sure we'll get into. But we're around, I think the current count is about 33 staff members. The vast majority are inside of our main office, the Market Center in San Antonio. And then we have 3 business centers that have some staff scattered throughout those. But the vast bulk of those staff members are here internally at the main office, servicing our agents and making sure lights are on and everything's happening.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. How big has your office been at one point? You said you guys were bigger. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, at our peak, I think we were a little over 1,200, almost close to approaching 1,300 agents. And honestly, what happened is we got too big. It became a stress on the staff, on the infrastructure. It became bad culturally for the agents, because although we were very much in a growth mindset and we were growing, we weren't doing enough on the retention side. And so it became very much a revolving door. And at this size of our market center, it is true that recruiting and growth solves all problems. But we are just in a unique phase where for us in our personal situation, what I didn't need was more bodies. We needed more production. And so we had to make a very intentional shift in our strategy. And that was kind of scaling back and doing a greater focus on R2 transfers. R1s, which are, of course, brand new to the industry agents. We had a ton of those, and at our size, we're already at a point of attraction where they're coming to us. So then I needed our focus in terms of our outbound reach to really be focused in on higher production agents that were struggling at their current brokerage, that needed models, systems, leverage, culture, leadership, community. And so we've made a big shift to that. So although we have intentionally shrunken down the body size, we've increased profits at the same time because of that hardcore focus on R2s.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
so
solved a lot of our
fantastic.
culture problems as well. So
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. What would you say when it comes to retention? What is one of the things that you guys have implemented in that transition that you're most proud of when it comes to retention? I'm curious.
building the relationship with our agents. I think our original owner and OP of this office was Mark Willis, and then it became Craig Owen, who is still our current OP. And I think both of those gentlemen really had a high intentionality about being in deep relationships with our agents. Because if you don't have the relationship, you just don't have the culture and the stickiness. And I think over the course of an emerging, growing market starting in 2012, and then, of course, reaching its peak in San Antonio during COVID, I think we became as a company a little bit more transactional at that time and just trying to keep up with the growth of the market and the growth of the market center, that we kind of got away from our initial, foundation of being in deep relationships with our agents. And so when I came in the door, that was really going to be the focus, is let's slow down the growth a little bit more. Let's build deeper relationships with our top 20% and the rest of the agent body, and have a real big focus on that. And so we've spent the first year doing a ton of dinners and lunches. I'm still trying to reshape my body after all that, but a lot of mealtime, a lot of one-on-one FaceTime. I wanted to make sure I was very accessible, that the staff was very accessible. And we really wanted to make sure our staff was happy, because our agents spend so much time with our staff. And I'm a believer, John Maxwell starts at the top and trickles down, right? And so it was, okay, I've got to establish good community with our staff and make sure they're well taken care of and happy, because then they are more happy to take care of our agents, and our agents see their happiness, and it all, is a little full circle there. And so that was a lot of the first year, was just let's culture correct. And thankfully I've had experience in the past of coming into bad cultures in a leadership position and having to correct them. And so I had that experience to fall back on. And that was really priority number one the first year, was let's calm the waters, let's get culture back in line. And a lot of this stuff will fix itself as long as we're being intentional with the plans. And that's what we did. And it took about, I would say, probably a good 8 months before we started to feel that shift. But this entire second calendar year, it's been nothing but momentum, and you feel the energy alive in the market center. And we're getting back to that point now where we're becoming an attractor instead of having to promote. And that's really what the goal was, is we said, okay, we love on our people and we do a great job. We'll get to a point where they become the ambassadors and they become the cheerleaders, and it attracts people to us. And we're very much at that point now. We still make our calls, so this is not an excuse for TLs or anybody out there to say, oh, well, I just got to focus on culture. We still make our calls. We still ask for the referrals, but we very much have grown our referral base of now where they're coming to us, and it's not just us only having to do outbound calls and outreach.
So glad you brought that up, because immediately what I heard was, oh gosh, some people listening on this are like, oh yeah, we're going to attract. And that's what we're going to take 8 months and all of a sudden we're going to attract. I mean, for those that are listening, they are market center within the Keller Williams ecosystem, number 2. So to put it into perspective, we've got well over 1,000 at this point. So you guys have been around for a long time, right? It wasn't like this happened overnight. Yes, you focused in an 8-month period and you saw the culture shift, which I love. And through breaking bread together and face to face and really dialing it in, coaching and consulting your top people. And I love the fact that you're honest enough to say, yeah, and we've been around a long time. And so finally, with that 8 months, in addition to the culture and reputation, fantastic in and of itself, that you already had, you guys have earned the right to now attract, and the right talent for that matter. I love that.
And it's like you said, we still very much do our calls. We track our numbers, we report our appointments, we use tools like Corded and so forth, and we're very out there in the community building the relationships. But yeah, it's twofold. We want to be out there doing our outreach, but also get to that point of attraction. And it's very much helped training our top 20% and training our ALC to say, hey, get us these introductions, because Eagles want to fly with Eagles. So if you want to be around other Eagles, bring me more Eagles.
I love it. It's that simple, right? You're like, yeah, kind of. No, I know. There's a lot of intricacies to growth of that magnitude, but I love that breakdown, especially when it comes to retention. So important. Tell me one success that you've had in this role that you attribute a lot of that growth to.
I'm going to lean back on the culture and being in deep relationship with the top 20%. I think it's because I had the advantage of being a top producer in the market center before I took the role. I knew what the pain points were of the agent. And you always have to be working on retention as well, because retention is re-recruiting your own people. And so it's, yes, we want to build the bench and we want to bring people into the company, but we want to make sure it's the right people that fit our current people that we want to still be in business with, and making sure that we rope them into the conversation. And so when we gave them that permission and that guidance of, look, I don't want to grow around you, I want to grow through you. And if you want to have other award-winning agents around you to increase, your own collaboration and your own network and your marketing power to say our brokerage is the leading brokerage through, the city, the state, however you want to say it, then bring me more people that you want to be in business with, and let us expose what we have here to them. Some of our greatest wins here is the fact that we have so many bodies in our market center daily, but we have really been very intentional about creating an environment that makes people want to be inside of our office. And in post-COVID, when everything is a ghost town right now, I'm very blessed that we can say on most days we see about 200 people a day come through our doors. And on team meeting days, that's probably closer to 400 a day. And so we're always working on our training calendar to make sure there's value there, making sure there's fun and community, so that it continues to attract other like-minded individuals that fit our mindset. And so we really, I would say, answering your question, I got a little long-winded there, but of the biggest win would be creating that culture that keeps our own production agents coming and keep coming, and then giving them that permission to say, hey guys, we don't want to grow around you, we want to grow through you. So if you love this culture and environment, you want it to continue to thrive and grow, bring us more people like you and we'll make that happen. And it's been, we're in a spot now where, in fact, right before I came up here, I thought I was going to be late because we were having a conversation, my OP and myself, about moving around some offices, because it's like, okay, we're at 100%, but now I've got some other big hitters coming in, and I'm going, okay, what can we rearrange to give somebody some more space over here, to free up some space over here? And that's the kind of problems we love having. Yeah.
Yes, we will play Tetris for office space to accommodate big hitters. I'm sure nobody would disagree. I love that. It's great problems to have. You mentioned a few times you guys are very systematic in reminding your agents that when they refer people, we get into business like them. That's how we grow in terms of collaboration. Do you actually have, because I work with a lot of team leaders, right? And one of the biggest questions I always get is, how do you systematize that? So I'm curious, is it an actual system? Is there automation involved? Or are you guys just very conscious about saying it at the end of every training, the reminder or business meeting? Like, how does that work for you?
Some of it is systemized. Some of it is just daily actions. Some of the systematized stuff of it is the smart plans within Command. We have smart plans for everything that we spent a lot of time building out. And we make sure that everybody that we're in contact with in terms of potential leads goes into some form of a smart plan that's loving on them and that we're monitoring. We use Courted, which is a AI recruiting tool that I'm sure some of your listeners are familiar with. That has been a very good tool for us. And talking to Courted, we're some of their top users because they track data at a high level. And so we love that we're in constant communication with them on, hey, if we could do X, Y, and Z with your system and make it even better. And because we use it at a high level and they know we use it, a lot of times they've been helpful with us working on those. But we use those systems a lot on Courted. We track who's a co-op, meaning who's on the other side of the deal. I know language varies per state, but we call them co-ops, the other side of the deal. And so we like to know who's in a co-op with one of our agents. And there's multiple times that the other agent will get pinged by someone on our staff. We have our broker of record reach out to them first to say, congratulations, I see you're under contract with Sally. Sally's going to be, of course, your main point of contact. But if for some reason things go off the rails, I want you to have my number and feel comfortable reaching out to me as the broker of record to help, both sides reach an agreement. Later in the process, once we process the DA, that triggers our MCA department to reach out to them and say, hey, we just wanted to make sure that you've got everything you need to get paid on your file at your brokerage because our agent has filed everything with ours. So we're going to make sure they get paid at the table. And if you need any documents for your file, please reach out. And that's strategic because we know, at least in our market, there's a lot of brokerages here that have a bad rep about not getting their agents paid in a timely manner. And that is one of our OP's biggest thing is we make sure everybody gets paid at the table. And we like to pay people quickly and on time. So we like to show that off that, hey, their accounting team is not only making sure their person gets paid, but they're calling to offer to make sure I get paid on time.
Right.
And then after closing, they'll get a call from either myself or our ATL thanking them for working. We usually try to touch base with our agent first to say, how did the deal go? Was there any compliments I need to share or problems that I can, lean on? And we like to call them and compliment them and give them a personal example of something our agent said. And so our ATL or myself will make those calls and check those off. So there are certain triggers within the system that we do use to make sure those things get followed up on. And then we have a number of other SOPs we use for getting offices in the buildings and birthdays and anniversaries and making sure we can really love on our agents publicly as much as we can as well.
I love that. That is so fantastic. What I heard you say, my biggest takeaway, and I preach it all the time, let the systems do the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Yep. Show up, let your calendar tell you where you need to be and with whom, and let the systems run in the background. And I know for a lot of people listening right now, yeah, Alexis, that sounds great. I don't have that kind of leverage that, we don't have 30 people on staff, right? Most brokerages are under 200 agents. And so, having 30 people on staff would be silly, and wouldn't make sense. So for those that are listening, and you are responsible for the leverage, slowing down to speed up, taking a moment to even implement a few triggers in the terms of automation and AI today is really ultimately what's life-changing, right? And maybe Grant, you've earned the right to have more leverage when it comes to that kind of system building and marketing that others don't. And I always say, even if you don't, then leverage the what, right? Leverage the technology.
Absolutely. And what you said about slowing down is key. Anytime myself or other staff members go to a conference, we always do a digest meeting afterwards to say, okay, what were the takeaways and how can we implement them? Because if we just go straight back into business, we're never going to pick it back up. And then we go, what was the point of making the investment, both financially and time-wise, to attend this meeting or this conference? So we always want to do a digest meeting and assign projects to, okay, we're going to implement this. Who's responsible for it? When are we going to have it implemented? Who's going to implement that? And who's going to take it? And when are we going to have it implemented? So that we can make sure we're getting our money's worth out of that investment and that somebody is responsible for it. Because, it's fun to have the idea and the project, but if it's not written and documented on who's responsible for it and what's the date, then it's just a fun idea. And we don't get paid on ideas. We get paid on implementation.
Exactly. I think what you just said there is so brilliant. And I see it all the time, as you probably do as well, right? It's like we go to these large events, whether with Keller Williams, obviously a family reunion or a mega camp or whatever it might be, regardless of your brokerage, you're going to these events, these masterminds, right? These large conventions where the takeaways are incredible. And my biggest qualm with those are always, they're only as good as the implementation. And so coming back and having a digest meeting, I think you called it, with your entire team, narrowing down the top three, maybe four priorities. I'm sure you're not getting more than that. And if you are, great. Yeah, no, I would not recommend it personally, but some have the leverage to do more. Three or four main priorities, and then leveraging the who and then the expected, finalization or completion date is huge. It's massive. And it's why you guys are probably as systematized as you are.
Yeah, and we're always looking for room for improvement. I'm not here to say we are perfect. Lord knows we have our pain points, but we're always looking. One, we always preach to leave space for grace. When we have agents that come in and go, "Oh, I went to this department in X, Y, Z," we always say, "Okay, give them a little bit of grace. I love the feedback. Let me try to solve this for you and see what we can improve on." And our staff is very open to that feedback. We preach to them all the time. Look, yes, we all have stressors in our lives, but if you haven't been an agent, you have to understand what they're going through. And so I spend a lot of time with our staff reminding them of our agents are out there fighting the fight right now. They are going through it. They are taking on a lot of stress, not only their own personal stress, but their client stress. And sometimes we're the brunt end, the brunt of that. But we try to give them grace, but we ask for them to give us grace in return, and that, hey, we're all working through this together. And so give us the feedback, but then give us time to improve upon it. And thankfully, our staff is very good about that. They know to always keep a smile on their face and make it a warm environment, and don't react. And if there's an issue, come see me first. Let me try to diffuse it and play referee. But we're very blessed that our agents treat us very, very well, and in return, the staff treat them very, very well. And it's just it goes in circles. So
I love that. I couldn't help but think when you were talking about, as we're talking about the systems and dialing things in, and with 922 agents, I'm just curious, in last year, in 2024, how much volume did you guys do as a brokerage?
Volume was I want to say it was 2.67 billion.
Wow.
During the COVID years, we were north of 3 billion. I would say transaction count last year was probably right around 8,000 transactions, and this year will probably be pretty similar, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, fantastic. So that just puts it into perspective for those listening right now. Again, you can do what you need to do as a team leader of any size team with the right leverage and systems, and ultimately culture, right?
Yeah.
I think that's so fantastic. What would you say when it comes to systems? What would you say your biggest system driver is that you can attribute to? We talked a little bit about like retention. We talked a little bit about recruiting. What would you say overall is like your biggest system driver?
Honestly, one that trickles down to everything is probably we are very close about following the career visioning process for our internal hires for our staff. And with that, we follow a very stringent 30, 60, 90 as well. And making sure we've got all the right players on the bus and in all the right seats trickles down to everything else, because I can't get people to follow systems or be in culture if they're not a match for our team and what we're doing as a collective. And that was part of, my role coming into this position was, every coach assembles their own team. And we had a lot of good players. And then we had we had several players that were also really good players, but in a different role or format or on one of our other subsidiary companies that our OP runs. And so we had to make sure everybody was aligned properly. And once we got that squared away, then it was a matter of whoever else we were bringing onto the bus that we made sure it was definitely the right fit. And so the people that run our hiring process really follow their career visioning. They do not rush for a hire. Even our front desk, our DOFI, our director of first impression, the last position we filled probably took 4 months to fill a front desk position. And that might sound like overkill, but I will tell you, waiting for that right person changes everything. The amount of compliments I get every single day on our DOFI is staggering. And it makes, every time we get that compliment, it makes the wait and the pain we felt during that wait. Every time I'd walk by and go, how are we looking? Do we got the right candidate yet? And people asking, when are you going to fill that position? But every compliment we get now because of that makes that wait and that pain point completely worth it. And typically we maintain 2 full-time Dofies and a Saturday receptionist. And right now we're down to 1 full-time Dofi. So we're filling that second slot right now. And so again, we're in that pain point of, we've done several what we call career nights, where we bring all the candidates together to meet our team and socialize with them. And then, once those candidates get narrowed down, they take them through the whole process of the life stories, the KPA profiles, the expectation conversations. And so, we're in that pain point again, but I know at the end of the road, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be totally worth it, because every time we go through this process for any position, we find the right one. Heck, myself, even when I was going through it with my OP, it went through the interview process for about 9 months before we reached the point where we said, okay, I think we're both on board to put me into the role. But it starts at that highest level, and then we do it even at the front desk. But that one process alone solves so many problems for us, because it makes sure everybody here wants to be here, is aligned with our mission, vision, and values, and where we want to take things.
Well, I always say, when you work that hard to build a culture, one bad egg can turn everything, right? You've worked so hard for. So the slow to hire, quick to fire methodology, though maybe not politically correct, is quick to fire, right? But those that are listening understand, it's really taking, in Keller Williams' world, the career visioning process and ultimately making sure that you are protected. What you're doing is you're protecting your culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing is, it makes it to where you have to do less fires. And when you do, they make them a lot more peaceful. We currently have that second Dofi position up because we did go through the career visioning process, and unfortunately it didn't work in that circumstance for this other person. But because we constantly outlined what the CV process was and what a 30, 60, 90 was, as we went through that 30, it was clear on the conversations and expectations. Once we got to the 60, there was that next conversation. But by the time we got to the 90, she actually was the one to bring it up and say, you know what? I see what you guys are looking for, and I haven't been able to hit it. I don't think I'm right to continue this. So we didn't even have to pull the trigger, because by that point, all the expectations had been laid out. There was plenty of communication and transparency that she knew at the 90, it was either going to be an us or a her. And she said, look, let me just say to you, I see what you're looking for. I understand fully now. And we had a great conversation about how, because we said, how did we get this wrong? We don't normally get this wrong in our CV process. And she said, you know what I've discovered about myself through this? And she goes, I think I might just be a really good salesperson, and I knew how to turn it on all throughout. And I said, great, let's get you licensed.
Oh my God, let's get you licensed.
But it ended up being amicable and peaceful, and she was okay with it. The team was okay with it. And, now we have to go back to the drawing board, but that's okay, because I'm confident following the process, we are going to get the right person.
I love that. And the other takeaway I heard you say right before that was, and I'm sure some of our listeners, it dawned on them too, or resonated with them, was you do a career night for leadership positions. Oh, yes. I love that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Any staff position we do, because we post them on sites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and all that stuff, we get a lot of applicants, like I'm sure all market centers do when they post a position. So instead of having to reach out to each one individually, one of our previous team members who set up, her name's Kim Bridgeford, she set up a lot of our original systems that we still operate on today. She had set up this thing called Career Night, where we extend an invite to all the applicants, and we have them fill out a KPA first for us. That's step one. If they don't fill that out, they don't get the invite to the Career Night. That weeds a lot of them out of there, because then we know they're not reading the instructions. Then they come out to the Career Night, and we'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 or 30 people show up for those, and they get to mingle with our staff. And they just move around the room in small groups and mingle with the staff to fill out personalities and all of that. And then the staff will meet afterwards to whittle down who made good first impressions on them. And then from there, if we come out with a handful of names, we're lucky. And then our hiring director will move forward with starting the career visioning process on those people to say, okay, let's come in, let's do a life story, and keep going from there. But yes, that career night weeds out a lot of people and time that saves our staff member a lot of headache of trying to reach out to each one of those people. So, it starts with filling out the KPA, then career night, and then we whittle it down from there.
That's so great. I love that. That's a huge takeaway for even myself. That is awesome. I love
Well,
that
that's all the
idea.
staff feel like they've got buy-in to it as well. All the people that they are, so not every staff member will be there, but anybody that's really interacting with them will be at that career night. And so it gives them the buy-in as well that, hey, you're part of this decision and your opinion, and if we value it and it matters.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. Um, as we kind of round out here, Grant, what is a piece of advice, because you've been around a long time, right? In the industry, in leadership, what's a piece of advice that you've received that you cannot live without in this role?
That I've received that I cannot live without. It's hard to narrow it down to just one. Somebody had said, and I don't even know this was, I know it was at a KW meeting because we go to a ton of KW trainings up at KWRI. We're blessed we're only a couple hours away from them, so it makes it very easy for us to commute out there for classes. But that retention is re-recruiting your own people, and you can't just focus on the growth of new people. You've also got to retain your current, and getting in deep relationships with them. So if I see a Facebook post, if I hear anything, I'm always trying to reach out to our people and just make sure, hey, you doing well? I saw your Facebook post, want to make sure everything's okay. Everybody laughs at my office. I have two offices. If you can see here, I've got kind of my front office where I have my computer set up. It's where I do my calls and emails and all that. My back office, I wish I could take you back there. It's 4 chairs in a circle. It's set up like a living room, because I say half my job is therapy. And I've got stress balls back there and tissues back there, because sometimes people just need to vent and go back out there and stay motivated, and they just need a consult and all this stuff. So I've got it set up to be more casual and not formal, so they feel like they are a friend. I strategically make sure we say the Heritage family all the time. All my videos start with, hey, Heritage family. I call everybody here friend. I try to call them by their names as well, but a lot of times I greet everybody with, hey, friend, how are you doing, my friend? Oh, that's awesome, my friend. The staff has learned to just mimic that as well. And so it builds that friendliness of, oh, we're all friends here. We all treat each other like family here. And it just trickles down. So we really just try to, I know KW has always said, we give out X amount of hugs a day, and that's been great advice. We do more hugging and high-fiving here at this office than I've ever seen, but that's how we like it. It truly is a fun environment. And I bring my kids are here right now. I picked them up from school, brought them here, parked them in the staff office for a little bit, and said, my dad's going to go upstairs and do a podcast. So we try to live out our mission, vision, and values as much as we can from the staff level, because when they see us doing it, it makes it more comfortable for them to do it. And we bring kids in on the weekends, and on the summertime, we have a lot of kids running around here and keeping it professional at the same time. But we just try to make it a fun, safe, friendly environment. And I don't know if I answered your question on the best advice. I'm trying to think, but
no, I think re-recruiting is your best retention. I mean, like it really is. Like re-recruiting your people is, from what my takeaway was, and correct me if I'm wrong, re-recruiting your people is one of the most important things you can possibly do.
Absolutely. I mean, when I came into the role, we were bleeding, and it was with the agents we don't want to be losing. And so that was priority number one is, trauma, stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And it quickly came from being in deeper relationship and loving on our existing agents that felt like, okay, I need to know I'm valued here and that I'm wanted here. And trust me, it is very easy when you've got upwards of 900 agents to it's difficult, and we take a lot of pride in making sure our staff knows everybody's faces and names, and I know everybody. It bothers me if I don't know a name. Like it truly bothers me. And we have found ways to work together as a team when they see a certain look on my face or their face to find the answer before we have to ask for it. And fruit fly in here. But we wanted to really build those relationships out. And we use messaging systems like Click, which is like a Slack. And we've got an agents of concern channel, an agent recognition channel. So if we see somebody's just had a granddaughter, somebody just broke a bone, somebody's talking about their business being down and it got back to us, we're always typing in there so that we can direct all the staff like, hey, we either need to love on this person or we need to recognize them. We need to post their social media stuff. So those two channels, I live on those two channels all day because it just helps us celebrate the agents' wins. Because when we hear about them, we want not only all the staff to celebrate them, but then we want all the other agents in the market center to celebrate them. So when we see those wins, we try to post them a lot internally in Facebook, externally on Facebook. We try to, if someone's dog passes away, my agent services director knows we try to always order a little paw print with their name on it and stuff. Just those little touches go so far. And we just try to keep it very, very personal so they know that we truly do care about them. And when we say the Heritage family, we mean it.
I love that so much, Grant. You have given not only myself so much to think about, but our listeners as well. I mean, those that are listening right now that have 100 agents, 70 agents, 200 agents, 300 agents even, and are getting bogged down by some of the slowing down to speed up that it takes to run a high effective, high culture, brokerage like you have accomplished at 920 agents is admirable, to say the least. And I have gotten so many great takeaways, as I know our listeners have too. So thank you.
It's like conference. If you can take one nugget away from it and apply it to your business, it's a win. And that's how we operate. So hopefully somebody watching or listening can take one thing and improve their business. And if so, then it's worth every minute being here.
Listen, that's what I always say. And hopefully they do a debrief with their team afterwards for that one thing and they pick the who and the execution date, right?
Absolutely. No, and I love it. Real big on, we don't put borders around brokerages. So if any of your listeners ever have a question on how we run a certain SOP or how we do anything culturally, we're an open book and we're always happy to share, because that's how we built a lot of our market center, was advice from other market centers that were kind enough to say, hey, here's an idea that we did and it worked for us. So we always want to return that favor.
I love that, Grant. If our listeners want to hear or see more of you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram as much as I should be. My Facebook is my number one source. It's just Grant Lopez, so it's real easy to find me. And you're more than welcome to call me or text me. It's easy. If you want me to give my cell phone, it's 210-865-6129. Call or text. I talk to team leaders and other leaders from outside brokerages all the time. And what goes around comes around. So I'm happy to share and pour into you any way I can.
I'm a firm believer in it as well, Grant. And thank you again.